Hey gang, Matt from Easy Breakouts, about to start another current market trend review, but before I do, just wanted to mention that if you find this video helpful, be sure to click on that subscribe button down below. Also, you can view additional videos by visiting our YouTube channel. Alright, let's hop into our analysis. So across the board, folks, a lot of selling coming into the markets, but even though it looks bad here, we actually had a huge recovery off of the low. So intraday, we saw Dow almost down 200 points. We saw everything coming off. In fact, we got stopped out of a few of our positions, but we did recover a lot of ground to the upside. So this actually looks pretty good when you look at the individual charts, as we're going to see here in just a second. We saw crude somewhat of a bid today. We saw the gold backing off from some of its prior highs up near the 1200s, kind of an area we were talking about just on the prior market trend review. And then we saw the bond somewhat backing off as well. We'll see all of this in the charts, but first off, folks, let's take a look at the S&P 500s. And you can see here on the S&P 500s, kind of almost looks like a positive reversal here. We're still chomping at the bit to potentially take out these 2280s. But one of the things I was mentioning to our traders in the room here is 2280s, that seems to be the target up top. We were potentially looking at 2260s as just kind of a short-term, very small inflection point, really the area that we were looking towards the market and definitely needing to hold were the 2233s and then obviously the 2215s, the 15s. So we actually intraday kind of undercut those 2260s, and we really actually saw a lot of activity start to pick up, kind of indicative of stops getting hit right in that area. And it's kind of interesting when you saw this kind of sell off and you saw sort of how it rebounded here, you notice how it kind of knocked right against those 2260. So once it breached it, you saw a lot of selling coming in, and you saw it act and behave as a little bit of short-term resistance as the market somewhat built the balance right underneath those lows. Then as the afternoon trade started to develop, once you popped right back above it, it was a shot right to the opening range, and we closed in the upper half of the range. We closed right almost at the high of the day, which was a very nice close considering how much volatility and how much selling was there this morning. Now, as we move over to the NASDAQ here, NASDAQ, same thing. One of the things that we had mentioned is how we were seeing kind of a little bit of rotation. So in the prior month and a half, 2 months, we saw kind of a weaker NASDAQ, stronger Russell and Dow. And over the last couple of weeks, we've been seeing kind of a sluggish Russell and Dow, but a stronger NASDAQ. One of the things I was mentioning to our traders today is we saw that across the board. So it was Russell, NASDAQ, S&Ps, Dow, all selling off. There wasn't any of this backing and filling between different indices or different sectors. It was just selling across the board early in the morning. But just a small subtle hint on how the NASDAQ closed the day. You saw how the S&Ps closed pretty much right on the opening button, right? So let's go back to the S&Ps, basically right on the opening tick, kind of closed right at that level. Okay, let's take a look at the how the Russell actually closed. So here's the opening tick. Russell closed really at mid-range trade on the day, so you didn't see as much of a snapback on the Russell. And then compare that to the NASDAQ. Okay, so what today's theme, what we're going to be talking a lot about today, is relative strength. And here again, so here's the opening range for the NASDAQ, and look where you actually closed the day. You closed the day pretty much at the high of the day, but also higher than the opening range. So we're still seeing, even in a down day, a little bit of relative strength in the NASDAQ. Very, very subtle clues that we need to pick up on as we take a look at the markets. And we're also going to talk about relative strength on an individual stock basis. Now, taking a look at some of our external markets here, we saw the crude rallying back, so we did find support right at kind of almost like a last-ditch area here where we found support prior. We found support again right around the 51 evens. So far, just a mid-range trade. Seems like there might be a bit of a balance or range between the 51s and the 54s. Taking a look at the gold backing off that 1200s. Remember, I was talking about how that's a place that I was anticipating some sellers to start showing up just based upon prior support and resistance here on a larger time frame chart. And then finally, take a look at the bonds. The bonds kind of backing off. Even though we did get a nice bounce, folks, it does tend to seem like the Fed's in a rate hiking mood. That's definitely going to put pressure here on the bonds from a longer term perspective. Now, moving over to the individual stocks. So folks, even though the market was down at one point in the day, almost triple digits on the Dow, one of the things that we saw very distinctly here in our trading room is that the stocks that were kind of a little bit on the weaker side from a breakout perspective, those are the first ones to stop out, and we just got them out of our portfolio. One thing that I thought was very interesting today is that one of the stocks that, really was a very powerful breakout from a daily standpoint, right? This stock, HQY, all day today just hanging out near the highs of the day. And once the market got a lift, this stock broke out to new highs and ripped another 60 cents on the day. And this is something that we've held on to from a swing trade standpoint. Another stock, very similar, right? If you look at the daily charts here, very, very strong breakout. All day this stock was kind of hanging around these highs, never really sold off a lot, and it hung out and performed very well on the day. So here's another thing about initiating potential trades, because we actually took a few trades today. One of them was this MXL. We took this on a day trade, and look at this breakout. Look at the volume coming in on this stock, okay? And you would think, wow, market's off triple digits. Why are you even looking for long-sided setups? And again, this is where that very fine nuance of picking up on relative strength comes into play, because look at the charts on this MXL. So you have to kind of keep this in mind. Here's what the charts at MXL are doing all day, kind of just range bound, right? But put that in perspective of what the S&Ps were doing during that time, right? Selling off big time. And it's almost like once the market kind of found a bit of a balance and started to rebound up and through those resistance levels, that's where you saw the stocks that had the best relative strength, the ones that were hanging out near the highest of highs. Those are the ones that were popping at that time, because you can see that's where the lift started, and then at the end of the day just going bananas, right? Just ripping higher. So this is why we look for relative strength. Here, let me show you another example of this AERI. This is a great example, right? All day really actually hanging out, trying to make new highs on the day. And once the market caught a little bit of a bid here, right around the 12 o'clock time frames, that's where you see this AERI just rip higher, right? Massively higher. And here's another thing about relative strength. AERI happens to be a biotech company. And here's something that I find interesting is look at the biotechs yesterday. So if you remember, or I should say on Wednesday, President-elect Trump was making some remarks about how the pharmaceutical companies, they're just charging a whole bunch and, quote, to put it in his terms, getting away with murder, end quote. Right? And so you saw all the pharmaceuticals selling off, and then all of a sudden, if you take a look at AERI, while it did have a bit of a sell-off, you notice that it recovers really quickly. So here's the thing about relative strength. We don't know why the relative strength is happening. Maybe there's potentially a positive news event that's going to come out, maybe a positive FDA announcement, whatever it is, some positive development. We don't know the exact reason why the relative strength is appearing, but what we do know is that somebody is taking action in the terms of buying the stock. So even though everything else in the sector is selling off, there's something about this particular stock that's causing them to continue buying in the face of the whole sector selling off. And in the case of today, or I should say Thursday's trade, it's causing the buyers to buy it even though the market is off triple digits. And so this is the relative strength that we want to pick up on, because when the market kind of finds its footing and starts to rebound, the stocks that are trading closest to the highs are generally going to be the ones to catch that breakout. And just looking at it on the daily chart, you can just see how it started to break out. I mean, we were buyers of this stock right around the 41 even. So, folks, who knows what happens in the future, but again, one of the things that we found as breakout traders is looking for relative strength can help you zero in on the stocks that are under accumulation by major institutions. So folks, as we're into this earnings season, again, just a reminder, be careful, be cognizant of when your companies report earnings. It can be a volatile period. You can be up a lot, down a lot. Just be careful. And then game plan always has been, always will be during this period, during shaky markets, during shaky earnings seasons. Folks, look for the best relative strength names breaking out of recognizable chart patterns with volume. Other than that, folks, have a great trading day ahead and join us for our next market trend review. Hey, by the way, if you haven't done so already and you're liking the analysis, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. And as a reminder, you can also view additional videos by visiting our YouTube channel. Or if you'd like to find out more about Easy Breakouts, go ahead and click that Show More right above the comments section to find out more about Easy Breakouts. But other than that, have a great trading day ahead, and may the trend be with you. Take care, everyone.